I've been really wanting to talk to you. I really enjoy what you're doing, and I want people as well to know, about you, about what you do. I want to ask you, for people that don't know who you are,
Yeah.
can you introduce yourself? Kind of tell us about your journey, your career journey, and how it took place.
Yeah, sure. So first of all, Yousef, thank you for your invite. I'm happy to be here. And so I love to talk about myself and the company.
Yeah.
So basically, if you're asking about my career progress, that's what you mean.
That's right.
Okay, cool.
Like your journey.
Journey. So
Yeah.
Okay.
And who you are. I want people to know who you are first.
Okay. So I'm the founder of AlCaz Media. It's a performance marketing agency headquartered in Dubai.
Okay.
And we have a legal entity in Canada as well. I'm happy to be here and we can talk about whatever topic you'd like to talk about.
Yeah.
I think to go back to your first question, who I am, my career journey, I started back in 2008 after I completed my studies in Canada. And I started my journey with a Japanese company called Fujitsu.
Okay.
It's basically the competitor of IBM.
Wow.
So it's known consulting firm, Fujitsu. And what I was doing web and management. And web back then was so different. It's not as fancy as today. And I stayed with them. I was in Edmonton, Alberta, in Canada, and did some work for the government. But then after that, I progressed into different roles. I worked for Prelator. I worked for Rogers, which is equivalent of Vodafone or Etisalat, and so on and so forth. I worked also for TD. TD is a great bank. It's actually the most valued brand in the past 2 consecutive years. And I was doing for them, I was leading essentially search, head of search, the center of excellence, collaborating with the stakeholders to ensure that we execute search practices effectively and efficiently.
Okay.
That was fun. I loved working for TD. It's a great culture, great brand. The people were really exciting and cool.
Yeah.
And I'm grateful, truly grateful for TD. It was an honor. And so after that, I'm trying to remember here, I basically moved to the Middle East, Dubai specifically.
Yeah.
And I joined Emirates Mbidi Group.
Okay.
Was doing client acquisition for their basically products like cards, wealth management, etc. Stayed in the region for a little bit. And then I got this opportunity I know it was random. Not random, I mean, Citibank in Singapore. That was the exciting part.
Awesome. Yeah, I know the name. Yeah.
Yeah. Citibank, obviously, most people will know Citibank.
Yeah.
It was same thing. Basically, SVP of digital acquisition to bring new accounts. And the exciting part about Citibank, it was APAC and EMEA. So I got exposure to the APAC market, things like China, things like Russia, where they use WeChat or Yandex, things that mainstream, most people will not really know.
Yeah.
So it was exciting, right? Because you had the Thailand market is very different than Philippines, very different than UK and Australia. Basically, it had the kind of City Global and City Americas, North and South. Anyways, going back to the topic.
Yeah.
I stayed with them for 2 years. And then later on, I started with Jumia. You may have heard of Jumia.
I know Jumia well,
okay.
Yeah. Ordered stuff from there.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Hopefully you like the stuff that you ordered.
Yeah.
So it is, as you know, it's the biggest e-commerce company in Africa.
Okay.
They operate in Nigeria, for example, is a big market, and they operate in Kenya.
Yeah, for sure.
Back a few years back, Amazon tried to acquire Jumia because they wanted to.
For sure,
actually publicly announce that they want to penetrate expand in the African market.
Yeah.
And I was essentially leading the hub, a digital performance marketing hub. Let me maybe define what digital marketing is.
Yeah, that's good. That's very good.
Yeah, I don't want to make any assumptions.
Just in case somebody doesn't know, we want to make sure that we...
Yeah. So basically, performance marketing is a digital marketing that entails things like people want to generate leads or drive online revenue, things like SEO tactics, search engine optimization, or things like paid media buying in Google ads or Facebook ads, etc. Maybe conversion optimization that also falls under performance marketing. So essentially, different pillars and areas where you achieve a revenue or sales goal. That could be leads, that could be e-commerce sales, that could be client acquisition, different things. And in that ecosystem, we typically call it performance marketing. So it's a niche, if you will, to achieve that objective. That's what we call it, performance marketing.
Okay, so it's a niche within digital marketing.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it's good because digital marketing is, I think, there's a lot of companies that are being founded, and a lot of them will need digital marketing because the world is becoming increasingly more and more on the internet.
Exactly.
So that's
that's why I think I'm in the right field.
That's good. No, that's good.
Yeah, and essentially that's what sparked the idea of founding AlCaz Media.
Yeah.
And then after I left Jumia, I said, what do I really want to do? And I think it's about time to really start my own thing, and I founded AlCaz.
Okay. No, that's very, very good. And this takes me to my next question.
Okay.
This is what inspired you. I guess describe what AlCaz Media is. I'd love to know a little bit more about it.
Sure. So you're right. That's what inspired me to create AlCaz Media. So basically what I wanted to do is to have a positive contribution to society and do something that is meaningful to me in a personal level. And so I start by asking myself a question of, what do I like? And then, what am I good at? And I thought about it and I said, well, I like advertising and marketing. I'm good at consulting, consultative senior stakeholders, etc.
You have experience with that, good experience from what you said.
Yes, actually, where iQuanti, I did a consulting role. Fujitsu was a consulting role, etc.
Awesome.
And then through time, you learn, essentially. You learn from your good and bad experiences.
Yeah.
So I asked myself those two questions, and the answer was clear. So I love advertising, digital marketing. I love, I'm good at consulting. And so I said, okay, now let's talk about monetization. Let's talk about, is this something that will work? And I said, okay, well, if there is a need, a gap in the market that I'm able to bridge, for example. And long term, is this something that is commercially viable? Can I monetize the company over the time, etc.?
Yeah.
And I did my research, and I sought help with some other professionals to validate my assumptions, etc. And the answer was yes. So in the GCC market is growing rapidly, I would say. And there is a gap, in my opinion, that clients that I talk to have the need of, basically they want people to tell them what they need to do, why, and then how, right? So they're looking for advisory expertise to guide them through what they're trying to achieve. They're not really looking for somebody to just execute. They're looking for a consultation service.
Yeah.
Explain the why, what, and how, and convince me that it has positive ROI. Some agencies do, and some obviously consulting services that provide that, but I wouldn't say it's the majority. I think that's a gap. And when we look at the numbers, it is growing, I would think, it's not exponentially, but it's growing rapidly. And yes, so it is competitive, but there's definitely a market need. There's a problem that we can solve. And then we validated basically our forecast and our assumptions. And we said, yes, this is something that can deliver value because we care. And it is a viable long term. And so we did it and we went live.
I think, as somebody who's trying to start my own business, as a founder, for example, I think that a lot of the things that when we want to start a company, we want a relief from. We don't want to think about certain things. I guess maybe for a CEO or somebody or a founder that's watching, AlCaz, I think, from what I know, does a good job with kind of relieving, mental or energy in the brain of just trying to think of other things. What can you say more a little bit about that? Like, you guys take care of a specific area within a business.
Are you asking me what services they provide or what
Yeah.
value they?
Yeah. What value? That's a very
Okay,
good. Yeah,
okay.
that's where I wanted to go for. What's the values, I guess, that you guys provide, especially compared to, for example, your competition. I'm gonna get into the juicy stuff here.
Yeah.
The competition.
Yeah.
And just let me know based on that.
Okay. So let me start by saying what we offer, and then we will talk about the values. Yeah. Okay.
Sure.
Perfect. So what we offer is, as I mentioned, it's a digital marketing agency, performance marketing focus.
Yeah.
And so we offer things like paid media buying. That's like Google ads, YouTube ads, LinkedIn ads, Snapchat, things like that.
Yeah.
But we also offer SEO, search engine optimization. So
Yeah.
that's your brand can show up in Google.
Yeah, for sure.
Things like conversion rate optimization, CRO.
Yeah.
How can you ensure that your website is optimized in such a way that it actually delivers the intent of the objective of that website? Right?
Yeah.
And so on.
Do you guys do reports regularly? For example, how's the website performing, or how's the business performing, and stuff like that?
Usually we report, we have a real-time dashboards.
Oh, okay.
Which report the user interaction behavior on the website. It doesn't have to be a website. It could be an app,
Okay.
a digital entity. It could be a social platform, etc. It's basically your own assets as an organization, as a brand.
Oh, so as a founder, I'll have access to the live.
If you own the data, obviously.
Yeah,
if you
for
own
sure.
Yes,
Yeah.
you would. That's best practice to have a live data, and then basically automated triggers to do something with that
Okay.
data when something happens. So
Okay.
that's what we basically would do or prefer to do.
Yeah, that makes me more comfortable because I want to find out, what's going on, and obviously, the world is changing so fast and
Exactly.
things are happening so fast. You want to be on top of everything.
Yeah, exactly.
I know I'm going to switch a little bit gears a little bit, but I want to know what made you choose the name AlCaz. I'm trying to.
I get that question a lot, actually.
Yeah. Tell me.
Okay. So basically, when we thought about the name, we thought about different options, things like that, and I wanted to pick something that represents the culture, right? And make a connection between the West and the East, and connect the two together. And so AlCaz was inspired by Spanish word Alcazaba. And it's actually an Arabic word, or the roots of this Alcazaba trace to an Arabic word called Al-Qasaba, which means the citadel.
Okay.
Or it could also mean a structure in a high place, which really resembles that knowledge is regarded in a high place. But there's more into that. So in Alcazabas, or citadels in south of Spain specifically, they're often decorated with arabesque art. And the arabesque art basically entails three different main elements or criteria, which is the consistency of flow, the consistency of flow, but also the symmetry of icons. Everything is perfectly symmetric.
Yeah.
Right. And the balance.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
And so if you look at any design of arabesque, you'll see those three pillars.
Okay.
And that, in addition to basically the story and what it represents, and inspired the name of AlCaz Media.
Yeah.
And that's how we picked the name.
Okay. So, did you go to Spain before? Or?
I did. I went to this place called Alhambra Palace.
Wow.
And I was fascinated by it. It's like it exactly describes what I'm saying about arabesque art and the influence of the Middle Eastern influence in Europe, and Andalusia and Granada. It's a vivid, it's a beautiful place, and it shows basically the knowledge of all civilization and how people use that to progress and basically move forward, et cetera. And that was the idea of the name, to inspire the knowledge, to inspire people and basically transfer that knowledge and connect the two cultures together.
No, I like that because there's a meaning beyond the name, and it's not just the meaning. It's like there's different levels to it, and I think it espouses to your values as well as a company, which leads me to my other question. With your team, what values do you and your team live by?
It's a good question. You asked me all the good questions, by the way.
Thank you. I'm happy that you're here.
Yeah, I know.
Right?
So, when we look at hiring, or when we look at the culture that we want to portray, or even interactions with the clients, we have to have a code of conduct, a values that we live by, because it comes across.
Yeah.
Especially when you provide a service.
Yeah.
And we're very clear about who we are, right? And what values we hold ourselves accountable for. And those values are consistency, commitment, right? Being authenticity, being committed, effective and efficient. There's a lot of values that we live by.
Yeah.
But those that comes to my top of mind, the accountability, the authenticity, the creativity, etc. And we believe in learning and collaborating, etc. And that comes across in our day-to-day interactions. So for example, we're very comfortable telling a client, actually, that's not the best thing you should do, even if it's against our best interests. Because that's very short-sighted, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if you're authentic and you're honest about the values that should come from this, let's say campaign or program, etc., then you're building a long-term integrated partnership. It's long-lasting partnership, and that's what we're really looking for.
I think like I'm not here to say, negative things about any other companies or anything like that, but a lot of people are afraid to be wrong. A lot of other companies, and I was just talking to my brother, who's also a business owner, and he was telling me that sometimes companies, they need to just focus on authenticity more, because that currency in itself is, I feel, very, very heavy, heavier than a lot of things. And I see it as a currency because it's something that gives you great returns. So I'm
exactly.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, we're humans, right? We're a person talking to a person.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if you're not authentic, it just comes across.
Yeah.
Genuine and authentic, that's what builds a relationship. And you need to trust the person in front of you to do business with that person.
Yes. And it goes a long way.
Exactly.
And even it goes when you're, when people are recommending other people to, companies and connecting people. But I want to ask another thing. Now, how do you quantify, I guess, the value that you bring to a founder, to a table, to a founder like me, who, I want to know, how I can quantify your work.
Okay. Typically what we would do is we would ask you what you're trying to do. So what are your pain points? What are your objectives? What is it that you're trying to achieve? That's like basically number one.
That's very important for any business. Exactly. I hope they know what, those things.
Yeah, of course. No. All the clients, I would say, they have an understanding.
Yeah.
Maybe you can consult and advise a little bit that maybe you need to do this instead of that, etc. But you level set in terms of what needs to be done and why, etc., and have a certain objective. And so I'm going to give you specific use cases, right? So a client comes in and says, we think paid media is very expensive, right? We're happy it's bringing volume, but the profitability is suffering a little bit. So can you guys help us with making this more profitable? And so this is the problem statement for you all. And then we'll think about ways to really improve the profitability, pivoting from a volume to value, right? Yeah. And we can do that by things like, adjusting the, it's a little bit technical, but adjusting the bidding algorithm that we're using with our partners, Google, for example, Meta, etc.
Can you elaborate a little bit on that? Like how so exactly? You have the reports and stuff like that? I'm just asking from my perspective.
Please feel free to ask any
questions.
So basically in a advertising platform like Google or Meta, etc., you will have different settings. And there's the machine learning and AI powering some of those settings and decisions. And so you can say, I want to use model A. And model A is really designed to maximize volume. Model B is basically designed to maximize profit. So I'll give you an example. Would you rather, if you're e-commerce website, would you rather sell a fridge with a high ticket size, like a high cost?
Yeah.
Or would you rather sell maybe 50 accessories? And it may be easy question, but actually you need to go deep, right?
Yeah.
Because you need to think about the basically profit margin in the fridge versus the 10 accessories. You need to think of the cost to actually deliver. you need to think about other things, right? So if you acquire a person that buys a fridge, maybe that person is more likely to buy something else.
Yeah.
Because that means that person is entering a new home. So they will probably, purchase, I don't know, a washing machine or purchase something similar.
Okay.
Whereas the accessory might be maybe it's small ticket size and it's maybe one time off or less purchases to be had in the future.
Yeah.
And that really the analysis around lifetime value, et cetera, et cetera. But those are the kind of conversations that we have with our clients to say, how can you truly pivot from a volume to value?
No, that's very good. Speaking of, you're talking about different items that one might sell in e-commerce. Where do you see trends going in the future within the space that you're in, fintech and e-commerce and stuff like that? Do you kind of have a grasp on that? Do you kind of see in the future where they might be headed?
Okay. So let me talk about digital marketing in general because I don't want to be a industry specific. I think it's better for the industry expert to talk about that. I can tell you high level, but I mean, let's think about the trends in digital marketing. Okay, what we've seen in the past, and we expect those trends to continue, even grow, are a few things. First, the basically privacy, protecting the data, privacy laws, regulations, and also enablement from a technology platform perspective. And so, for example, Chrome is restricting the third-party cookie. And the third-party cookie is basically how we track.
Chrome is doing that.
Apple started, right? But Chrome is following suit, essentially.
Yeah.
And so, and we have until this year to fully migrate. Like it's a phase project.
Yeah.
And so people now, users like me and you, will be a lot more control of what data they share with different platforms.
Yeah.
And that actually impacted Meta heavily in the past few years.
Yeah.
So that's one trend that will continue. A second trend is basically the application of AI, artificial intelligence.
That's something that a lot of people are talking about right now.
It's not going away anywhere. Actually, as a matter of fact, it's doubling down, right?
Yeah.
And so you will start seeing AI in different applications, different content use cases, etc., and it will be integrated with your day-to-day tasks and also in the way how we do our job.
Yeah.
Right? So news channels, essentially, the most of the content actually is generated automatically, right? But that now it's actually more mainstream today. But you start seeing more of that. So, for example, Google Ads, they start using a lot of kind of automatically generating content, showing up some things that might be valuable relative to your preference or historical patterns, etc. Things like that, we believe will continue based on the findings and the articles that we read.
Yeah.
I would say also, I'm trying to think, user-generated content is started, but it will grow. We predict that it will grow.
User-generated content? What do you mean by that? It's pretty self-explanatory by the name, but I want to...
It is. Yeah, so basically, let's say a company or website that have reviews, and that review is a third-party review, is injected by a different platform. And so a user like you and I actually wrote that content, but that content is visible somewhere, right? So it's a user-generated content. It's not a company-generated
Like
content.
if I write a blog or something like that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Social media content.
Social media content. Okay.
So we predict that this will grow. TikTok, you know, all the videos that you see, stories, reels, things like that. It is essentially a type of user-generated content.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Right.
Okay.
And then basically, people trust people.
Yeah.
And then now, people will then use social media channels as part of their journey, purchase journey. Some people actually in the Middle East, in the CGC, they start with social media. They actually look up on Instagram, for example, or TikTok, before they actually go to Google, per se. Right?
Yeah.
And then the purpose behind that is because I would trust somebody of what he or she says in user-generated content more so than I would trust what you wrote about the company in a company website, for example.
Oh, I see. Yeah. That makes sense. Yeah. You're looking at, that totally makes sense.
Unbiased, kind of.
That's right.
Opinion.
And you're right. I love it when you said people trust people.
Yeah.
That's a very important point. For AlCaz, with the journey that you took to start it, I know that, with anybody starting a company, especially any viewers right now that are watching founders or CEOs or anything like that, how did it make you feel taking that leap and following your passion and going after AlCaz?
It is hard and scary, I'll tell you that much. And it comes with a high degree of uncertainty. Just going to be vulnerable and honest here.
Yeah.
But that's normal. At
Yeah.
the end of the day, we're humans. Either you trust and you give it a shot, a fair chance, and take a bold decision to move forward
Yeah.
in a calculated way.
Yeah.
There's data-driven, research-based, or you just don't. And so if you're talking about the feelings, it's mixed feelings. The positive ones are the excitement. You feel like you're finally free. You can be in the Bahamas and do working in the lab, that's fine.
Yeah, yeah. Or Alhambra.
Yeah, that's
Granada,
right.
I'll see you there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And also you literally pick the people that you work with, right? And the partners, etc., which stimulate your interest. You're excited. You love that.
Yeah.
But also in the more of a kind of negative emotions comes with it is uncertainty and maybe anxiety, worries about the cash flow. But all of that is normal. And then it's journeys, right? It's a phased approach, and then you progress. I think the growth is exponential. So you start like this, and you go down, and then it goes like this, like a hockey stick, right?
Yeah, yeah. I like how you started with the positive, because that's when everybody starts with a company, they start with the positive.
Yeah.
And then the reality of it all hits you after, right?
Exactly.
The difficulties.
Yeah.
And what's good is, like I was saying earlier, or what I was saying before, when you're working with a bunch of people, I'm very honored and happy that you're here visiting me and talking to me. Even outside of the podcast, you've been giving me a lot of good advice for my journey that I want to take, right?
Yeah.
So that's good. And, I want to switch those gears to that exact thing. Clients. I know I read a lot of your testimonials. I talked to people that worked with you. And I was wondering, how do they like to work with you, the clients?
How do they like to work with me, or what do they like about working with us, essentially?
Exactly that, yeah.
Okay.
What do they like working with you?
Okay. Trying to think. I think for starters, we're straightforward. We're honest, transparent, and I'll give you an example. Let me elaborate with an example. Right? There's a client that actually, by mistake, paid twice. Right? And the client took some time to actually to process the payment, over 2 months, etc. As soon as we found out, that was flagged, and basically communication was sent to that client immediately. Right?
Yeah.
In less than 24 hours.
Yeah.
And then in the next 24 hours, a full refund was for the duplicated amount.
For
was
sure,
sent
yeah.
out. So that just is testament of we care.
Yeah.
We're very honest and transparent, and said, oh, hey, we found this immediately, reported it from finance to the clients. And then secondly, we took a prompt action, right?
Yeah.
So this is something that was regarded highly or positively by the client sides. They really like it when we say no. Or we say, actually, it's better to save your money. I always tell to my team, if that was your company, if this is your money, how are you going to spend it? Right? Because we're looking at long-term partnership. We're not looking at short-sighted kind of tactical revenue that can be generated.
Yeah.
It's about this integrated partnership.
Yeah.
And then you need to earn the client's trust, because then things will work. You can then scale the business after you have that trust. So that's another thing, is basically the credibility and basically the honesty of our opinion to do what's best for the clients.
And you work fast too.
Yes.
Within 24 hours?
Well, that was because there was a mistake. It was reported, flagged, and when it comes to finance, you need to be extra careful, because you want to make sure that people get a strong message that this is taken seriously.
And how's the communication? Is it obviously the founder or the person
CEO
you're working with? Yeah, the CEO is working directly with you.
In that situation, we like to have a direct line of communication, obviously.
Yeah. And the
they would
communication is prompt and
Yeah. So
yeah.
basically, we will flag that to our counterparts. So
Yeah.
Finance flagged.
Yeah.
Let me know first, and then they flag it, etc. But what I liked about it is basically how we dealt with the situation. So we took an immediate action
Yeah.
because that's who we are.
Yeah.
Right.
Authenticity and no, that's really good. I do want to say, we've come towards the end of our conversation.
Okay.
But before I let you go, and which I don't want, I want you to stay here forever.
Thank you. I would.
I want you to kind of give us some final words, some advice to maybe founders or CEOs that are working within their company
Yeah.
that are thinking about digital marketing and that whole world. What advice? I know this is like an open-ended kind of question, but what advice would you give them to, just as founders?
Okay. Trying to think a little bit here. One thing that resonates, which I think will just be beneficial for us on the client side, is taking a bold most decisions, especially in digital marketing. So things happen fast, and it's always on, it's ongoing, right? And so clients that have a mechanism in place to really say, if this, then you have the approval to do that, or kind of mechanism to really react to certain triggers or trends or behaviors, etc., that give us the leeway to do what needs to be done to improve efficiency. And let me give you an example just to elaborate what I'm trying to say.
Sure,
here.
yeah.
E-commerce clients that we noticed in a week or so, spike went up in terms of channel usage.
Okay.
And when the usage goes up, then you can sell at lower costs.
Okay.
Some clients will have a very strict kind of guidelines in terms of approval needs to be made for budget, et cetera, et cetera. Whereas if there's kind of autonomy made and then kind of some measures in place that is pre-approved to leverage those kind of trends, then the client will have an competitive advantage.
Are you talking about e-commerce?
And not just e-commerce specifically, but I mean, I'm just trying to give you an example here.
Oh, okay.
I think back to my point is taking bold decisions.
Okay.
Reacting fast.
For sure.
To basically insights. Because by the time you go back and trying to take a decision and figuring it out and blah, blah, then the opportunity window is gone.
Yeah.
So it's almost, you have to have a real-time response to some certain scenarios that you pre-anticipated.
Yes, that's right.
So being lean, agile, quick gives a competitive edge. Mm-hmm. And that's part of the culture of being bold. I trust my partner. I think we may not have all the evidence that needs, but we think that's the right direction with some level of research, with some historical benchmarks, etc., and predictive modeling.
And you provide those. You provide like an analysis. Yeah.
Some analysis we do, of course, and some analysis is basic proprietary data by the client that shared with us.
Yeah.
But we collaborate.
For sure.
We tell the client, for example, what we need. So do we build it together? Do they build it? Do they share it? And how kind of the information, how do they share the information with us? How can we actually digest that information? And how can we basically build an actionable intelligence that is done by a real-time trigger, so to do something that is meaningful for the business.
So would that fall in the category of, for example, if I want to scale my business, or if a viewer that's watching that's a CEO or founder wants to scale their business, is that similar advice, or do you give a little bit of a different advice?
I would say it is similar, because if you want to scale your business, you need to be bold. You need to understand basically your P&L. What is the threshold, the guardrails?
P&L, if you don't mind me asking.
Yeah, profit and loss.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
I'm sorry, I should have explained that.
No, it's all good.
So basically, it's a common problem. You need to scale, right? But then it's our job to advise you that you want to scale profitably. It might be your objective that you want to scale for incremental valuation of the firm.
Yeah.
And then you're compromising. That's fine. That's a business objective.
Yeah.
Or it could be actually not. We need to scale. We need to pivot from volume to value, as I mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
And so if this is the case, then that's where we'll come in as advisors and say, okay, we need to have a solid understanding of the guardrails. how much you're willing to pay to achieve a certain objective, or certain sales, or certain etc. Right? And so I'll go back to the e-commerce example.
Good.
Right?
Yeah.
Because the digital marketing is very competitive, right? And sometimes clients will say, okay, well, we want to have a 5x of the revenue in year 1, or like when you're 6 months, etc. But in reality is, because it's based on auction, okay? In reality, that's just, you're not going to make it because it's very competitive and people will outbid you. So your reach will actually decline.
Okay.
So instead of saying, I want this objective in 6 months, let's be realistic. Let's think about the lifetime value.
Oh, I see.
So basically...
And we're living in an age where everybody wants everything now. Yeah. So...
But what I mean by lifetime value is essentially, especially e-commerce is the easy example to elaborate on. But if you may buy something today, right?
Okay.
But then you spend X and you made X, same, like 100. Like you spend $100, you made $100.
Okay.
Right. But then later on, in 6 months, that person comes back and buys something again.
Yeah.
In another 6 months, buy 2 items again, and so on and so forth. So you calculate the lifespan of that user across like across the, maybe the forecasted life of that individual.
Yeah.
Could be 5 years, could be like a mortgage actually. In banks, they do 25 years.
Okay.
Right. So in Canada, they did. Usually it's 25 years.
25 years, yeah.
Yeah. And you build that model, forecasting model, and say, okay, then if we acquire that user today, the equivalent value of that user over a lifetime is that much.
Yeah.
So that's another advice that I would say, because you asked me, what would you advise your clients to do, is to have a really solid understanding of their cost guardrails, lifetime value.
Yeah.
Using some models in place with the help of finance and data intelligence teams.
Okay.
To really say, okay, we know how much we're getting.
Mm-hmm.
We know how much we afford to pay.
Yeah.
And to still be P&L positive.
Yeah.
And we know our constraints. Now, how can we work together to enable that with a realistic expectation? Because if we're being too conservative, you won't have the exposure, and therefore you won't grow.
That's
because
right.
it is a competitive market.
So I like the values that you told me. This is very, very good. AlCaz Media, how do they stand out from the competition? How are they different?
So basically, when we thought about our value proposition and how we're different, to your point, from other agencies, what comes out are really 3 things. First is that we take a consultative approach when we guide our clients. So we provide an actionable intelligence that can be implemented to drive the intended value. So we're not a doers per se. We're advisors, if you will, right? And people value that. They want to know what, how, and why, right? So that's immediately, it's a differentiation factor. But also, secondly, is that we have an expertise in performance marketing, as I alluded to earlier. So we are expert in a specific function to drive, like a performance marketing, to drive sales, lead generation, etc. And in a basically functions like paid media, for example, like consulting, like social media, etc.
Yeah.
And we're focused in mobile marketing. So that together is provide a niche to enable you. We have the expertise. We're able to advise and consult, and that's how the clients, realize our value. And I would say, thirdly, is the global exposure and basically experience. So we have both ways, actually, global market experience and expertise, but also more so the GCC market know-how knowledge, as well as effective methods that actually work in the market.
Okay. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you coming here and sharing your experience, your values, your wisdom. AlCaz Media, I'm looking forward to hearing more about them in the foreseeable future, seeing, how they do and everything like that, and hearing more clients, testimonials and success stories. But Ahmed, Yousef, thank you so much for coming. Thanks for, bestowing us with your presence. And I'm looking forward to seeing you again.
I'm flattered. Yousef, thank you much for your time. Thank you for having me. It's been an honor.
Thank you.
I loved our conversation.
You have to come back.
I will.
I can't wait. I want you to come back and we'll talk more.
Sure. If you remind me, I'm definitely going to come back. But I appreciate it. Thank you for your time and thank you for having me.